Hi everyone, welcome back into my channel. Hope you're doing well. If you haven't seen my face before, nice to meet you. My name is Rebecca. I'm a 30-year-old mum here in Australia. My daughter has special needs. I also have special needs or medical needs of my own. On this channel, I do personal finance videos, budgeting. I also do videos on motherhood and my journey with that. So if you like what you see and you want to stick around, please hit the subscribe button. Let me know down below if you like this type of content and you have any tips down below of your own or experiences of your own. This is a free and safe space to be open and transparent, but also be kind, because if you're not kind, I will put you in your place, just so you know. Anyway, in today's video, we're going to be discussing me being legally blind. If you do not know and want more detail, I'll put a link up in the card and down below in the description of my video of being extremely premature. I was born at 22 weeks and 2 days gestation in 1995. For context, my mum's due date was the 20th of August 1995, so you do the math there. And from that, I have low vision. I developed retinopathy of prematurity, which is something that's very common in neonates under a certain amount of gestation and birth weight. I was obviously super high risk, being that I was 22 weeks and born at 480 grams. I was the first baby in Australia to ever survive under that gestation, second youngest in the world. I know that's not the case today, but I was literally the guinea pig. The amount of research that they were able to get from me being born and them actually fighting and doing everything they could to save me has taught them a lot, and that's shown literally in the last just decade of, how many babies have been saved. In the state that I'm in WA, just for context, in the state that I'm in, just because of me being born, that feels like such an amazing step in medical advancements, technology, just everything. And I'm so incredibly lucky and grateful for the hospital that I was born at, because I know a lot of hospitals, especially back then, did not allow, didn't even allow to either be born at the hospital, they had to be sent to somewhere else, or they just refused to try. And yeah, I'm just so grateful to those doctors and nurses who really put their all into saving my life. So as I said in the intro, I am legally blind. For those that know ROP, I believe I had stage 3 to 4, I believe. So back then they didn't have the newer technologies that they do now for ROP. I had to have laser. And then not long after that, I think I was 10 weeks or 10 months, one of the two, I'm not quite sure, I had developed 2 hemorrhages in both eyes and I had to get LASIK done for that. So from both of those situations, I've never been able to get LASIK again. No eye doctor specifically has said to me they will not touch me unless it's a severe case of retinal detachment or something like that, which thankfully, touch wood, I've never experienced yet. That's not to say it will never happen, because it can happen to anybody at any point, but I am also at high risk because of it. This is actually a really interesting time to do this video, because I turned 30 this year, back in April, and 10 years ago when I was 20, I believe it was October when I was 20, I went to see an eye specialist because I was looking at getting, I was doing a little bit of research and I'd found implantable contact lens surgery. I was like, oh, back then I was really still trying to do everything I could to get my license. Because of my severe legally blindness, I was not able to. It really took a hit on my independence. It took a hit on even honestly my self-worth, which sounds so silly to put that down to that, but that truly is how I felt back then. And to be honest, sometimes I do feel like that a little bit. If you have watched this far into the video, comment down below a glasses emoji. Let me know your experience if you are low vision or know someone with low vision or blind as well. I'd be curious to know what your experience living with that is like. But I went to a proper eye specialist, and it was my really first introduction into a proper eye specialist, and I spent maybe 4 hours doing a whole bunch of different testings. I was being sent to different rooms and different big machines and smaller machines, and I had just all sorts of different eye tests done on my eyesight, and I got a really good first look at what my eyes are like, the type of conditions that I have from having ROP. There's a lot there, so I am going to go through that if you're interested, and then at the end I'm actually going to go through what my visual acuity was back then versus now, because you'll be surprised, it has actually changed a lot in 10 years. So the first common, I think it's pretty common condition that I have is astigmatism. I have it in both eyes. I don't really notice it. You tell me, do I have lazy eyes? For those that can actually visually see this video, do I have lazy eyes? I don't know. I also have TOD, which is tilted optic disc syndrome. The report also mentioned with that it also came with multiple pigmentary degeneration at the macula bilaterally. Eye doctors I don't know what that means. I've tried Googling it as well. I don't really know what that means, but that's what the report said, so. Another very, very common thing that I'm sure you've all heard, and some of you even have, even if you do have good sight, is astigmatism. I do have it in both eyes, but it is much worse on my right. I'll give you a demonstration. Okay, so this is my left. This is me trying to stare at the camera lens. And then this is my right. You can probably see my eye trying to focus. That also goes to how different my vision is per eye. My left is much better than my right, it always has been. There is definitely a misconception of like being legally blind, like, oh, you just have low vision. Like, no, a lot of us, yes, it is low vision, but it's also because of a mix of different conditions that contribute to being such low vision. And then even again, if you are fully blind, there again is that misconception of like, oh, you might still be able to see, but no, some still have some light perception, some still have a tiny like pinhole vision. Like, it's such a big spectrum, and I think it's really difficult living in a world that's not made for you, especially on the low vision and blind community. It's really hard to navigate that and also advocate for that, because there is just this blank statement of, you know, oh, you may not be able to see enough to drive, but you can still see. It's like, yeah, I can see, not enough to be able to drive. And then some people even go like, oh, we'll just go do this. Have you tried eating more carrots? Have you tried this? It's like, yes, but it's literally from birth. There is nothing that I can do to change that. I also watch a lot of like eye doctor YouTubers. I'll put a link and description of who I watch down below. I get some really, really great insight, not just into my own conditions. I think because I have a lot of different conditions, I'm learning so many different things at once, but it's also really good to learn about other conditions that I don't have, to really get a broad educational perspective on how different low vision and blind people, what we experience, and we all experience it differently. Like, someone else with RAP has a completely different experience than what I had or have. It's all very personal, and it's a very personal experience as well. The only issues that I've had, you know, growing up during school and stuff, I had, you know, back in the 2000s, I had to have one of those really big old looking like magnifying glasses, and then my teachers would, you know, blow up the pages for me so that I could read them. I always had to sit at the front of the class, and then when they would write on the whiteboard, they would need to either write in blue or black, because I could not see any other colours. Not that I was colourblind, I just couldn't make out the letters, and they obviously had to write pretty big so that I could see it and, you know, comprehension wise, like take notes and stuff. And then I would also get constant testing and stuff like that. I used to wear, like, because my prescription was so high, which again we'll get into at the end of this video, but because my prescription was so high, especially my right, I was very, very limited with the types of frames that I could get, and it was always like really square, and it was an awful time, let me tell you. It was not a good time looks wise. This now is literally the biggest that I can go, but I feel like I'm okay with that because I do have such a small framed face, so I feel like going any bigger would just, you know, bug eyes and not be very cute, not be very fashionable. That's the other thing too, is I got bullied so much during school for wearing glasses, especially primary school. You know, four eyes, you know, those kinds of silly little comments. You know, I even got teased having to sit up the front, and I also got called the teacher's pet a lot. But yeah, I definitely got bullied a lot, but now I'm seeing so many people wear glasses. Like, I think a lot of that honestly attributes to social media and screens and tablets and all those sorts of things. Because yeah, when I used to watch TV as a kid, I would be that kid that would sit right at the front, like literally this close to the little box TV so that I could see it. And my dad would always make this comment of like, you're gonna get square eyes, you're gonna get square eyes if you sit closer. So I would always like get told to like move back, but I just couldn't see that well. So I felt like I had to sit right at the front of the TV to be able to see. But I think as technology and, you know, iPads and, you know, I had MP3 players, I had Game Boys, I had Nintendo DS's. So, you know, as that has kind of increased and grown more over the years, I think we are seeing an increase of high myopia because of that, especially in children. I already had that in general, and that was, you know, I didn't start having social media and stuff like that, or like bigger screens of stuff till I was a teenager. It's just really interesting to kind of compare the difference to like me growing up and what tools I was given as a low vision child versus, I mean, I don't know what they get now for low vision children, but you know, from what I've heard, they get iPads and laptops. Like we didn't have that. But interestingly, over the years I feel like my vision has slowly gotten better over the years, which is really interesting considering how much more technology I use now with phones and computers and laptops and tablets and everything versus what I did growing up. So I know I've spoken about this in other videos, but like not being able to drive has been one of the most, like it was my first bout of depression. I know that's so silly to some of you who have been able to drive since I was 16, but for me, I'm such an independent person, genuinely, like I always have been. I think growing up, mostly, I say mostly loosely, mostly as an only child. I do have siblings, but they always live like 7 hours away, and you know, we only saw each other like on a random birthday or like holidays and Christmas. But I think growing up as an only child made me so incredibly independent, to a fault at times, honestly. But I also think that when I got to that age of 16 and 9 months and everybody else was getting their licenses and they were all like, oh my god, we're so excited for you to get it, we can't wait, and I was already starting to slowly do some like driving and like parking lots and stuff like that, and then when I really studied for the test, and I did so many versions of the online tests that you do to get your L's before you actually go in. I went in and I got 27 points out of 30. You have to get, back then, I don't know if it's changed now, but back then you had to get at least like 24, 25 I think to pass, and I got 27 out of 30, and then I didn't even make it past the desk where they check your eyesight to see if you are legally able to pass the driver's test, and that really broke me. I remember walking out just bursting into tears, and that really broke me. I didn't really know how to handle that because it was my first real indication of like, I am disabled. It was really my first insight into I am disabled. I am not able to do what mostly everybody else is able to do. And I know that there are some people out there that choose not to drive. That's completely fine. But for someone like, you know, me, who really is so independent and wanted to drive for that independence, and it was stripped away from me essentially, basically from myself. Like, I only have, well, I was going to say I only have myself to blame, but I can't blame myself because it's literally the body that my soul was put into. Like, it just is what it is, and there's not much that I can do to change that. Over the years, there have been people that have been like, oh, why don't you try go for it again? You know, because you just never know. I don't think that that's going to be good for my mental health because I already know the answer. I already know the conditions I have. I already know what my visual acuity is. You know, I now know what the legal requirement for a prescription glasses to be able to drive is. I am nowhere near that, so I legally cannot drive. I'm legally blind, so I don't want to put myself in a situation where I'm just going to be disappointed. So now for the part that we've all been waiting for, well, you've all been waiting for, is where is my visual acuity at? My right eye visual acuity 10 years ago was 6/30. And then my left eye visual acuity was 6/24. So just that alone was way over. Hey everyone, editing me here. Just wanted to jump in and let you know that I do actually have my visual acuity listed right here in the table, as you can see. So my right eye today, at least, you know, compared to 10 years ago, is 6/30, so that hasn't changed. But my left eye is now at 6/20, so it's gone down by 4 points. So obviously it's not a huge amount in the span of 10 years, but I'm going to take the wins where I can. So anyway, back to the video. But I will say, my prescription back then, my right was -18.5 and my left was -10. As of this year, I think January, February when I got them tested, currently prescription wise my right eye is -14.7, so that's gone down in the last decade. Left is -7, which again has gone down, so my prescription's gone down, which is good. And I know as I get older as well, it's just gonna decline. We all decline, don't we? So yeah, well, it sucks. It is what it is. I'm taking the wins where I can. The fact that my prescription has gotten better over the last decade, I'm taking that as a win, even though it's small. It's a win, you know? So with that, I'm going to leave this video here. Thank you all so much for watching. I truly appreciate all the love and kindness that you have shown me. Hope you're doing well and staying safe out there, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!